still watching Maria, and Maria expected to still remain as a tropical storm. Now Maria is expected to turn out to sea. Meanwhile, there's Hurricane Lee, which is in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, and Lee is not a threat to land. I'll have more on our local forecast coming up.
Thank you, Jennifer. Developing at noon, a close call today for Defense Secretary James Mattis after he was the target of a rocket attack near a key Afghanistan airport. The attack happened after Mattis had left the airport. The Taliban and ISIS is claiming responsibility and says Mattis's plane was the target. The attack comes as U.S. Secretary of Defense James Mattis and NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg were in Kabul for a visit and scheduled to hold a joint news conference with Afghan President Ashraf Ghani. As a result of the attack, all flights have been halted. Officials say 6 mortar rounds landed in the eastern part of the Kabul International Airport. In addition to the rocket that was launched, a U.S. military official says 40 rounds of munitions hit the airport. The Taliban claimed responsibility for the attack on Twitter, saying the intended target was Mattis's plane. But ISIS also claiming responsibility, releasing a video they say shows the attack. At a news conference just hours before the attack, Stoltenberg recommitted to the international fight against the Taliban and ISIS in Afghanistan, but encouraged the extremist groups to seek a diplomatic resolution to the ongoing conflict. During that news conference, both Stoltenberg and Secretary Mattis emphasized that the U.S. and other NATO countries are still committed to the fight in Afghanistan, providing both financial and physical support. Stoltenberg says NATO is committed to funding Afghan security forces with close to $1 billion per year until 2020. And Mattis said that the U.S. will contribute military advisors to supplement the Afghan troops and allied contributions already deployed. As far as any casualties in the attack, no deaths have been reported, but we do know 5 civilians have been injured. The extent of their injuries is unknown at this time, but we'll bring you any developments as they become available to us. Christy.
All right, thanks so much. And right now at noon, Puerto Rico said to be in crisis after Maria, with nearly everyone still without power and more than 1 million people do not even have safe water to drink 1 week after the storm has hit. And we now know that President Trump will also be visiting that island next Tuesday as he faces backlash over his response to the disaster. The president is answering questions about his response to the disaster in Puerto Rico.
Is Puerto Rico getting all the help it needs from you, Mr. President?
Puerto Rico is very important to me, and Puerto Rico, the people are fantastic people.
But on the ground, the island is in crisis. 95% of Puerto Rico is still without power. More than half of the residents without clean water. Hundreds wait at the airport trying to get out, but there aren't enough planes. Those who do get out remember those left behind.
I left back my family, friends, and co-workers, and I'm here. And they have, they don't have water, they don't have light, they don't have so many things that they need.
Puerto Rico is a U.S. territory. Its residents are American citizens. But a week after Hurricane Maria, many say the federal response has been insufficient.
Are you getting the stuff you need fast enough?
No. And I'm sorry if that's not politically correct.
San Juan's mayor says bureaucratic red tape is holding up relief efforts. New York Congresswoman Nydia Velázquez on CNN going even further.
This is going to turn to be Mr. Trump's Katrina.
In response, the White House released photos of the president in the Situation Room being briefed on Puerto Rico. He brushed off questions about whether he's been preoccupied by his battle with the NFL.
Was I preoccupied? Not at all. Not at all. I have plenty of time on my hands. All I do is work.
And just this morning, Puerto Rico's governor went on to discuss the logistical problems that they are facing to get the aid being delivered to the people who need it most.
A lot of the people in Puerto Rico that used to, say, for example, truck gas or food from one place to the other have not reported. So the logistical transportation of the help that's arriving to Puerto Rico is kind of becoming a bottleneck. And what we really need are some human resources, which we've requested. And FEMA has established the Corps of Engineers and special forces from the DOD that are going to be coming to Puerto Rico.
And the governor also added that the power grid in Puerto Rico is practically destroyed and there is no way of knowing when that power will be back on. They are also looking for creative alternatives right now to restore power, and in the future they will find ways, they say, to recover a lot faster following a big storm.
We have team coverage on the aftermath of Maria and all the challenges Puerto Rico faces since the storm. Local 10 News reporter Leanne Morejon is live at Miami International Airport with the superstar who now wants to help. Leanne.
Yes, we know Puerto Rican superstar Marc Anthony is now pledging his support, along with a lot of other celebrities that are pledging to do the same. You know, as we mentioned, as you guys said, there is a plan in place, or at least thoughts now, to help make the recovery process in Puerto Rico easier for other hurricanes. But right now, we're dealing with a situation currently so frustrating for people still on the island, as well as their families who are here in South Florida and in the mainland of the United States. We do know that there are relief flights coming out of airports like Miami International, Opa-locka Executive, Fort Lauderdale International. But we know logistics and red tape are still big issues. Warehouses like this one throughout South Florida sit packed with donations bound for Puerto Rico.
It's a logistical nightmare.
The airport in San Juan is only at 10% capacity, so landing permits are becoming a very big issue. We'll have somebody sitting right now in FEMA online just to try to get a few landing permits so that we can get some planes out of here.
The red tape is affecting us, and I think one of the easiest solutions that I know a lot of our state representatives and I think the governor have been asking for is to either mobilize the Air National Guard or the Air Force.
But getting these items off the mainland and onto the island is proving to be a major challenge.
A lot of this has to go all the way to Jacksonville before it ships to Puerto Rico.
Organizers and volunteers say red tape and logistics are major obstacles, coupled with a shortage of available planes and maritime cargo containers. The delays in getting this help to those who need it, causing anger, sadness, and frustration.
Reach out to all your state and local representatives. Put the press on Washington. Donald Trump, I want to hear you say we love Americans, and Puerto Rico being one of your American territories, for you to take this lift up whatever sanctions you have, whatever red tape that we're experiencing.
Superstar singer Marc Anthony announcing today that he and several other artists and celebrities are banding together to provide aid to Puerto Rico.
We actually care, and that we're doing something about it, and that we're going to do something about it. We've been extremely effective, even in the past 72 hours, in getting help.
And we also know that rapper Pitbull from right here in Miami has offered up his own personal plane to help bring cancer patients from the island of Puerto Rico to the United States to continue their treatment. We also know that as far as lawmakers are concerned, that U.S. Senators Marco Rubio and Bill Nelson are urging the president to expedite requests from not only Puerto Rico but also the U.S. Virgin Islands for aid. This is such a dire situation, and it's so urgent for these folks to get the help they need. Reporting live at Miami International Airport, Leanne Morejon, Local 10 News.